Warning! If you might be offended by foul language or off-color jokes, now is the time to kindly fuck off.
On this episode of Londoner Calling, we'll be covering the FA Cup, the mid-season EPL Awards, and we have a special guest, Charlotte Tate, who also happens to be my daughter.
So, guys, normally we'll be doing episodes a little differently, but with this one being our pilot, we wanted you to get to know us. So our guest, Charlotte, is actually going to start by asking us some questions about why we're here, why we're doing this, and we'll let you know basically what this podcast is going to be about. So with that being said, Charlotte, why don't you take us away?
Absolutely. So I'd like to introduce Barry Tate, my dad. And Barry, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background with soccer, how you became a fan, and what made you interested in soccer becoming a part of your pubs when you opened them?
Oh, well, I better start. I was actually born over here. I know I don't sound like it, but I was born in Wichita Falls, Texas. My mum was English and she got divorced when I was 5. I moved to North London. And thankfully, North London, Arsenal were the nearest ground to me. Could have been Spurs. But thankfully, I had an uncle that took me to watch Chelsea at the age of 7. And after that, there's only one team.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. And what about when you moved to the States and you started in the restaurant business over here? Mm-hmm. What made you interested in trying to grow the soccer crowd in your pubs?
Well, at first, I came over here, I think it was 90. And then when the FA Cup came around, I mean, we couldn't find soccer anywhere. I mean, there was no internet, there was the TVs. And you had to have one of them big old dishes, like 40 foot wide. Mm. There was one place up in Addison that had it, and they showed the FA Cup. Gordon Jago, that used to be a coach at Queen's Park Rangers. Mm. He was a coach at Dallas Sidekicks. He does the Dallas Cup. He got someone in Addison to show the FA Cup. Mm. Every Englishman in town used to line up, get there at 2 hours before the game and line to get it. So when I opened my first pub, we had people asking about soccer, and eventually we got our own big dish. Mm-hmm. And that was it. It was the only place to go. You couldn't go anywhere, you know. And then we had to pay like 10 grand for a tournament through Setanta Sports, and we had to charge $20 to get in. Mm-hmm. And they bitched and moaned about it because they're English, but they paid. Mm-hmm.
And that's how you got your start. What made you interested in parlaying that into a soccer podcast?
Selfishness. I wanted to watch soccer. I've played it all my life. I'm not obsessed, but I played up until the age of 67. So I never thought, I'd be able to walk, let alone kick a soccer ball. But it was, and just the atmosphere it gives when people come in there and you get them watching the games, and you'll get some Americans, especially then, you'll get some people there and they didn't know what was going on, and they'd hear the shouting, the screaming, and then the singing. You know, you'll never walk alone, whatever else, and you wouldn't no idea you were in Dallas.
Yeah, no, I think I can speak to that too, because you say it's not an obsession, but I would even factor say it is. It's like that we all are so obsessed with this game and we all love it so much, and that you taking something you love, such as soccer, and parlaying it into what you do for work with pubs and combining that and creating places like the Londoner for a place where people can come to want to watch games. I think that's so important. Also, on top of just how much the game is growing here in America, we see over the past couple of years, you'll just see more Premier League shirts out in public, right? More Arsenal jerseys, more Liverpool, Spurs, Chelsea, doesn't matter. It's just growing and growing. And I think that you've parlayed that perfectly with giving people a place to come together and watch that, because I think that at all true fans' root, there is a bit of an obsession that keeps us coming back to our club when, let's be real, we're not all Man City. We don't win 24/7, right? But we do get to keep coming back to that team out of passion, out of obsession, and out of simple love for the game. So I think that it's incredible that you've put up multiple places like this for people to come together and get to kind of experience that atmosphere that you talk about, that we don't typically see that English atmosphere in American sports. And I think that a place like this does give you almost facade of that. a place where all can just be together watching the sport we love. I think it's brilliant.
I think this is a pretty good time for me to introduce our co-host, Ben Drabik. And Ben, tell me about your background, how you became interested in soccer and made that a career for yourself.
Yeah, so I started playing soccer when I was 3 years old on the Mighty Mites was our team name. I still have pictures on my mom's fridge. And I played my whole life all the way up until I played intramurals in college, but I played competitively all the way through high school. Fell in love with the game, was obsessed with it, started watching the game more in late middle school, early high school. And I actually started watching, funny enough, Olivier Giroud was a striker for Arsenal at the time that I wasn't the fastest. He wasn't the fastest. So I started watching him to try to make myself better. And the more I watched, the more I fell in love with just Arsenal in general and the league and the game and the chants and the fans and the atmosphere and the aura that was surrounding the sport. And I became obsessed with the Premier League and in love with the Premier League and in love with Arsenal. They're my team. So little London rivalry between Barry and I, except he's been to London and lived in London and I just support the team. So you'll definitely see some playful banter between us if you on the podcast. But yeah, and then I also parlayed that into just working. I called games for local amateur teams in the area, the Denton Diablos. I did a couple seasons with them, traveled with them. I've worked with the Fort Worth Vaqueros just on the commentating side of soccer. And then on the research side, I've been fortunate enough to stumble my way into NBC. And I used to write notes for Peter Drury and Arlo White. And then even the most recent Euros, which was Euro 2020, but not 2020 because COVID, but they called it 2020. Lee Dixon reached out and I was able to be his personal note writer for him and get to have a phone call with Lee Dixon and him be like, oh, heard you're an Arsenal supporter. And I'm like, yeah, dude. And you're Lee Dixon. Oh my God. So it's just all this crazy cool stuff that the sport and cool places the sport has taken me. And then I want to just continue to grow in it. And yeah, I love the sport and I love talking about it. I love watching it. So that's kind of why I'm here and what I do. I'm just a big fan that's gotten lucky in some work opportunities and gotten to be a bigger part of the sport than I ever thought I could be.
Now, I'm not sure if you could figure out a way to bring that into the conversation. Mm-hmm. But I know you'd want me to bring it up that you're actually an Emmy winner. Was that for your work with soccer?
Not soccer specifically. It was actually on my second Olympics. I was working on the ticker team, which is the bar that goes at the bottom of the screen. Mm-hmm. We had about 3 people that worked 8-hour shifts every day for a month. I was the fortunate one who drew the lucky straw to work 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. So I did that for an entire month on the most recent Winter Olympics. And I did we as a production, I was just a part of it, all won an Emmy for that. So yeah, Emmy winner, huge honor that I got in the recent year. So I do bring a little credibility to my knowledge here, I promise.
And my dad brings mostly shit talking.
Yeah, I can trash talk. That's why I still play soccer, actually. I can't kick the ball anymore, but I can trash talk. I've got so much better at it.
He can. Trust me, we've had production meetings. He can absolutely do that. He's terrific at it.
It's actually quite weird because...
think if we can... Sorry, can we do a stopping point and I'll fuck off while you guys do the rest and I can come back at the end?
Yeah.
Is that all right?
I would even leave the part where you just said I can fuck off in the show, actually.
Okay, that's fine by me.
All right, Barry. So we mentioned earlier you were touching on the FA Cup. I kind of wanted to jump back into that. Obviously, normally we cover more Premier League stuff, but with the Premier League being on break this past weekend for the FA Cup, I figured we'd dive into that, talk about some teams, some tendencies, kind of get our finger on the pulse of the leagues and the teams right now, right? So I want to start with Arsenal 0, Liverpool 2. This felt like a game that Arsenal kind of dominated. Liverpool got away with. Even Klopp said we could have lost tonight. That's clear. And it felt like they did. But for Arsenal now, that's 1 win in their last 7. That win was in the Premier League. They drew Liverpool in the league. They've then lost to Villa and West Ham in the league. How panicked are you for Arsenal, or do you think they can turn it around despite this bad run of form?
Panic's probably the wrong word. I'm laughing my bollocks off.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
I'm a Chelsea fan.
As a Chelsea fan, you're probably loving this. How concerned, not concerned.
If I was an Arsenal fan.
If you were an Arsenal, I mean, not even that, just watching Arsenal as a third body perspective here, and I'm a fan, so I'm biased. You're a rival fan, so you're not going to love us much, but you'll give a more honest opinion than I will probably. Are you concerned with the fact that they have barely been able to score a goal this past month? Are you concerned with that their defense is leaking some shaky goals? Or do you think that Arsenal will get back to the Arsenal of yesteryear and go compete for that title?
knowing their manager, that they'll get back to it.
Okay.
I mean,
So you rate Arteta?
yeah, yes.
Okay.
Every team goes through that. I don't care how good you are. I mean, I'm sure there's phases where Man City went through it.
Yeah,
Probably
earlier this year.
1960, but they went through it.
Yeah. So I get that too. And then looking at the other side of that, Liverpool flying, hitting every bell right now. They're still in every competition. They actually play in the Carabao Cup semis. They have a 2-leg semi against Fulham starting tomorrow. That's a home and away. They're into the Europa League round of 16. They finish top of their group, so they avoid the qualifier there. Currently top of the table in the Premier League with a 3-point gap. Do we think now, look, it's a huge thing for them. They're missing Wataru Endo to the Asia tournament, and then they're going to miss Mo Salah for the duration of AFCON that Egypt stays in the competition. Obviously, Salah is arguably the greatest player in the Premier League. He's one of the best wingers in Premier League history. That point's proven. Do you think that they have enough firepower to withstand the gap of missing these players and continue to fight on all fronts as they are? Or do you think that we'll see Liverpool bow out of one of the competitions, probably one of the cup competitions more likely than not, playing some kids and to focus on using the players they have available for the tougher competitions like the league?
I still think they could do it, only because if you look at the likes of Liverpool, you've got Real Madrid, they've got the experience. They've been through it all before. This isn't the first time they've had to let players go for competitions. So they might scrape by. There might be a tough battle. They might get lucky like they did this weekend, because they should have lost that game.
They should have, I agree.
Or Arsenal should have scored, put it that way. So,
Arsenal should have scored in a lot of games.
So,
recently.
no, I think they can do it. They're going to miss Mo Salah and the other geezer, I can't remember who it is.
Yeah,
anyway.
Endo. Yeah, he's gone to the...
No, they're going to miss them, but they got players here. They kind of just got enough depth to cover for
With
it.
Luis Diaz,
Depends who they're playing as well. I really don't know. I haven't looked who they're playing in the league. I'm not worried about the cup games. I mean, Fulham's been a little bit of their bogey team, actually.
Fulham's a very bogey team. They've been very tricky this year because they went on a run of 2 games. They were scoring 5 a game, lighting people up, and then they looked terrible until they played Arsenal and whooped our ass. But
didn't they, when they had their league game at Anfield, it was like 3-2, was it?
Yeah, it was a 4-3 Liverpool win, and they had a 3-2 lead. Like, they had lead multiple times in the game. So they can compete. They can compete, and especially in a cup game. Like, this is a semi-final where the other semi-final in the Carabao Cup, for those that don't know, it's Liverpool and Fulham on one side and Chelsea Middlesbrough on the other. I'm not trying to slight Chelsea by any means, but it's not Man City. It's not Arsenal. It's not Man United. It's not a team that's been there and done that, and a team that truly, like Man City, would strike a little bit more fear into an opponent, let's be honest. So I think Fulham could see this as a real chance at a trophy this year, because I think in a one-off against Chelsea, assuming Chelsea beat Middlesbrough, which would be the more likely result, why not Fulham?
I think the only problem, if it was a one-off and it was just that do or die, but it's not. It's over 2 legs.
The final.
Oh, the final. Sorry, I thought you meant the semis.
The semis, yes. The semis. I think the semis would be very brutal, having to travel to Anfield at all.
So you're saying Fulham's going to get in the final?
No, I'm saying if they would, I think they would fancy themselves against whoever.
Okay, got it.
But again, I think Liverpool do have enough to compete. I think that they will struggle without Salah. I think that his impact on the team is that great. But it's hard to bet against Klopp right now, man. And also, another big thing for Liverpool, they're not playing in Champions League. It's Europa League. It's a different level of competition. Yeah. But anyways, I don't want to dwell too long on this one. I want to move on to Man City versus Huddersfield. Man City won 5-0. The result is not the story here. The bigger story for me is Kevin De Bruyne is back. Shit. As a rival fan.
You'd like him to come back after Man City played your team.
I'd rather replay Man City twice before he comes back, because he is a problem. He already got an assist. He's back. He assisted Doku, the 5th goal for Man City. It took him, 10 minutes to register an assist?
How many minutes did he actually play?
I think he played like 20. He
came on late. I saw him puffing towards the end.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting back into the flow of it. Yeah. He does like to turn red. He does turn red sometimes when he gets worked up, De Bruyne. Man City did this year struggle in the Premier League a little bit, but we've seen this year and year before. Do you expect them, now that it looks like, okay, they're getting healthy, Haaland's going to get healthy again, he's going to come back, Alvarez is firing on a ridiculous rate this year, De Bruyne's back in the mix. Now they did lose players, Mahrez, Gundogan, they're not there anymore. Do we think Man City have the quality and capability to go on another run in like they have year in, year out in the second half of the Premier League season here?
Yeah, I think they will. I think he's just got to look at their manager.
Is it all just Pep?
I mean, yeah. I mean, he might have a little bit of a problem tying, losing, being 2-0 up and letting teams come back in it. Yeah. But he's, as long as you've got him by your side, just needs to kick him up the arse a little bit, and
he's going to coach
a
proper team.
Him going.
Yeah, I find it hard to bet against Man City as well, just based off what they've done. And again, like you said, who's at the wheel? Go on.
But I think, when are they playing Spurs?
They actually just drew Spurs in the next round of the FA Cup.
Okay, that was it, because I had some Spurs
Yeah,
fans
yeah.
say that Man City, I didn't know this, have never scored a goal at the Spurs
Tottenham.
stadium.
No, they haven't, and they always lose.
And they have, yeah.
Spurs are their bogey team. I don't get it. I don't know why. Every team has one, but for Pep Guardiola, Tottenham is his bogey team.
Yeah,
It doesn't
so
matter the
normally
manager.
I'll say, well, okay, they're okay. Well, you can't. I mean, they're two top teams anyway.
They are.
But the way Man City, Tottenham are playing with the new manager, again, I mean, I know people have watched it, but, no one knows him. They've got to work him out. It's going to take a season for the other managers to work out.
Yeah.
Ange, is it?
Yeah, Big Ange. Yeah, Ange Postecoglou.
I'm not going to say that last
I know
name.
you're not. That's okay.
Honestly.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It's It's
Sounds
tricky.
like a
I don't
Greek-
even like
sounds
saying
like a
it.
Greek
I don't
fish and
like
chip
him
shop
at
in
all.
London.
He's very likable, but I can't like him based off who I support. So like that's where
Oh,
I'm at.
yeah, I forgot
Yeah,
about that.
like I just can't say anything positive, but I will eventually. Actually, we can move on to them now because I do want to talk about Tottenham. You've mentioned Ange and the new manager bounce, and they started 10-0 in the Premier League, 10 straight wins. Injuries hit. I don't want to give them that excuse because injuries hit everybody. They did lose some important players with Van de Ven and Madison, and now they're about to go on to a very difficult run where they lose Son, they lose Sarr, and they lose Basuma, all for these AFCON and the Asia Games. Do we think that they will dip back in form and regress, or do we think that now they have the firepower because Richarlison's scoring? Brendan Johnson looks like quite the player. Kulusevski is very consistent. He's not going to bag you double-digit goals and assists every year, but he's going to do a job. How much do we think they drop, if they drop at all? Because we've seen them struggle this year. So with these absences, which are big players, Son's a big player, he's the captain of the club. How far do you think they drop in form?
I think they're going to drop.
They have to,
They're
yeah.
going to drop. Apart from the way they play, it's all.
It's very. They want to play aggressive this year. It's
Yes.
a new Spurs. We've so used to seeing Spurs sit back, hit them on the counter with Kane and Son. And this year, for the first time, and I have a Tottenham friend who I wish would shut the hell up sometimes, but he doesn't, so he keeps talking about them. But he keeps talking about how fun it is to watch them play non-counter-attacking football, play on the front foot. And this is the first time that I've really seen Spurs do that, and it does cause me a little worry. I think that Ange is really trying to re-identify them, and I think he's doing a good job of it.
As much as I hate Spurs, I hate them.
Yeah.
Okay. But actually, they are decent to watch now. I couldn't have watched
Yeah.
that shit they've been watching for years.
No, I loved it because they had to suffer through it, and I don't like Tottenham.
Yeah.
But now they're playing front foot football, and it looks good. It looks good.
And you have to give credit to the manager.
Have to.
Because, I mean, I think he was Ferenc Puskas was his manager once years ago.
Oh,
for Big Ange, yeah.
Yeah.
And he always had the attitude, well, we might let him 4, but we'll score 5.
Yeah.
And that's why he always does that. If they score 4, we'll score 5. And it's not from a fan's point of view. You want to see attacking football.
It's funny. That's literally an
You don't
exact
need this
quote from
partner
Unai
bus
Emery.
crap.
That was an exact quote Unai Emery said when he joined Arsenal. Funny enough, was I'd rather win 5-4 than 1-0.
Right, yeah.
So I think that Spurs fans are enjoying this. The sustainability of it, I don't know. It is his first season, and he's missing some key players, so get some back. But again, they won in the FA Cup over Burnley. Screamer by Pedro Porro, who's been brilliant at right back for them, by the way. But I think that this FA Cup for them, which again, they just drew Man City at home, so tough match. But this is so important for a club, and I know trophy jokes. They don't win trophies. Spurs haven't won a trophy in a very long time. They're already out of the League Cup. It's been like, what, 2010, 2011?
I don't know. I'll tell you what, at the end of the season, I'm going to invite all the Spurs team here, get them to lift a pint,
Yeah.
because they're not going to lift a trophy.
At least they get to lift something.
It's
At
a free
least they
one.
get
can
to
have
lift
it on me.
something. There you go. But I think that this competition really should be something that they take very seriously since they're already out of the League Cup.
Yes.
They are competing in the Premier League, but they're not in Europe. So this is one of 2 trophies they have left on the table. I think that Spurs will go as serious as they can in this competition, try to go far. Last team I want to talk about is your team, Chelsea. Slow first half, rapid fire second half, 4-0 over Preston. I know that Preston isn't the biggest opponent, but that is 3 wins on the bounce for Chelsea. How are you feeling? Do you think that the manager's going to get to click? Because Chelsea, you guys have bought young talent, probably overspent a lot. Let's be honest. Y'all spend $700 million and you're still in 10th in the Premier League. But do you think that you are turning a corner now to where, okay, the team's clicking, the talent's clicking, players are getting back, and Chelsea can compete for Europe the second half of the season? Or do you think that's still out of your reach?
Obviously, being a Chelsea fan, I'd
Yeah.
like to think so.
Of course.
But again, they've had it, and they have had a lot of injuries. That the back line.
The back line, yeah.
And then James and all of them.
And Nkunku as well comes back and he gets hurt right away after scoring in the front line. Yeah.
I think like Arsenal, they obviously need call them a centre forward. I don't know what they call them nowadays.
Striker, centre forward.
10 or false
a killer.
False pair of tits. I don't know what they call them. But they were a centre forward.
Yeah.
And I think that Arsenal and Chelsea could do with one.
Yeah, I think they both could. So do you not back some of the youth that you have playing center forward now? Do you think Broha is good enough to lead the line? Do you think Nkunku could be a guy that leads the line? Or do you think you still have to go out and get that?
I watch him and he'll chase the ball down and he'll run and he'll try hard, but if they're not getting it through to him, I don't know. But plus also, he's been out for a year and some of the games he's been coming on as a sub, he's not really played the minutes
he hasn't played at all.
To get fully fit and sharp.
So jury's still out on Nkunku.
The fact is, the fact is Jackson's out for now, so he's got this month to really prove himself. It puts pressure on him, but...
Do you think Jackson is a guy that can be like a Diego Costa for Chelsea, someone that you know is going to lead the line first on the team sheet, no problem?
That I don't know. Again, one thing, he's got to get his discipline.
Yeah.
He's getting more yellow cards for silly things.
It's stupid
if
stuff,
you're going to get a yellow card, smack someone
Get a yellow
on the chin.
card. That's what my coach used to tell me, So you're going to get a yellow card, get a yellow card.
Honestly,
So... All right, well, that pretty much covers our FA Cup roundup. Obviously, other games, other results in the Premier League. There's some replays in the FA Cup. Man United advanced past Wigan. For those wondering, still plenty of replays there. But I want to move on since we've been talking a little bit about Premier League, and we're at a point in the season where it is more or less the midway point of the season. I figured it's a good breaking point. Let's do our mid-season Premier League awards. So we're just going to pose hypothetical questions as if the season was ending today. Who would we give the award to? Let's start with the best signing of the season so far in the Premier League. Who for you has been that sign that has risen his team's level so much?
At first I was talking, there was James Maddison, but he's got injured, so it's a little bit hard.
I agree. I think he's a great shout, but you can't give it to him because the best ability is availability. His injury, I think, takes him out of this conversation.
The other one I like, and I wish... Chelsea, I don't know why they wouldn't, unless someone's 12 years of age, they won't sign them anymore. We can't get experience, and that's where they're hurting now.
Yeah.
I mean, thankfully we got Thiago Silva.
That's what I said, Thiago Silva, and that's it.
But you need a few more in there like that.
Of course, you need leaders.
We don't have that. Okay, someone will grow into it. I saw this young kid come on, Gilchrist, Charlie or Aim. He's coming from the youth. He's 18 years of age.
Kids,
He got in there and he was on them for 5 minutes. He threw himself and he was going in like a John Terry.
Yeah, he's making his mark.
So if we can get... Like we said before, you want someone that he's one of our own. Okay, it's nice to have all these foreign players, but you get one that's grown and been through the academy.
You want an academy kid.
It's like
Saka at Arsenal. Yeah, you want that. But for you, the best signing so far this season. What club has brought in a player that you're like, wow, you have taken them to a new level. You have hit the ground running more than I thought.
I'm trying to. It's gone out of my head. The name.
Are you thinking of like Cole Palmer for Chelsea, or who are you thinking of?
The reason I like Cole Palmer, I'm a Chelsea fan, because he wasn't getting many minutes for Man City.
No.
It's not like he was playing. He's played a lot of games. He's got all this experience because he really didn't.
He's still a youth kid in a way.
Yeah, he's coming. I'll tell you what I like. I like his attitude.
Yeah.
Cock is probably not the word, but when he gets
he's got a swagger, and a certain self-confidence that I think you need to have if you want to succeed.
The one thing to have a player with a swagger,
you need that.
All your fans love him, and every other fan on earth hates him.
Yep.
So, but you want it. It's a bit like Diego Costa years ago. Or, as I said, Vidic from Man United.
If he's on your team, you love him. But if he's not on your team, dirty bastard. You heard it here first.
Vidic, but I would have loved him on my team.
Yeah. For me, it's Declan Rice. I think Declan Rice has been a transformative signing for Arsenal. I think that even a blind man can see that Declan Rice has been the signing of the season so far. And I'm biased, but I think there's just no one else.
Because he hasn't just brought his footballing ability.
No.
He's got that. Come on.
He's got a certain aggression. He's got... You said a swagger. He walks as if he's been at the club for years, as if he's the captain of the club. He's a leader there. I think that he just raises a team, obviously Arsenal being that team right now, at just such a level.
Someone like Rice, Arsenal could be losing 4-0. He doesn't stop.
Yep.
He
doesn't give up.
11 players on the field.
You saw it against Luton on the road when we
just
scored
takes one player to drop his head. You're playing with 10. You need 11 Declan Rices out there.
If we had 11 Declan Rices, I'd cry of happiness. All right, let's flip the tables here. Worst signing of the season. What player was brought in for way too much money, hasn't done what he's supposed to do?
half the Chelsea team.
Yeah, I was going to look at Chelsea. I was going to look at Chelsea
I can't
too
really,
here.
honestly, with the money they spent, you know,
Mhm.
when I look at Chelsea and the money they spent, and then you look at the likes of Brighton, they go and find
Brighton are
peanuts.
one of the best clubs at transfers.
But for how they do that, I mean,
Yep.
they go and find them for peanuts. They've had them for a couple of years, and then Chelsea buy them for millions.
Yep.
You
Yeah,
know,
I mean,
so-
it's obvious. Caicedo being the obvious one right there. But then you look at who else Brighton brings in. They've done some great work in the loan market, too. They brought in Ansu Fati. Barcelona's number 10 is now playing for Brighton. They've done incredible work. But yeah, I think that you have to look at Chelsea and you can kind of pick your lot at which transfer's been the worst. There's been too many big signings to count that just haven't panned out. I think Mudryk is probably one that I would highlight. I know he wasn't this season. He was last January, but I'm going to incorporate since this is his first full season here. It just hasn't hit the ground running like he's supposed to. For $100 million, you don't buy $100 million to develop a player, in my opinion. You spend $100 million on a player that improves the squad immediately.
But everybody says that it doesn't matter who you are. That first year in the Premiership, I don't
Mhm.
care if you've come from AC Milan.
It's so hard to hit the ground
They
running.
say the speed of it, and it's so different. And
We say that, but we have seen cases of players hit the ground. I know Aubameyang's first full season for Arsenal, Golden Boot. Like, we've seen it, and it's rare. It is very rare to hit the ground running, which I think Declan Rice, obviously, it's an easy transition in the same league. But players coming from foreign leagues, Jadon Sancho, another one, used to be ripping it up at Dortmund, literally it's been isolated from Man United's squad. So I see it a lot where it's tough to hit the ground running. But anyways, we can move on to the best manager in the Premier League so far. Best manager in the Prem so far at the midway point of the season.
you know, because obviously the ones you first look at is Big Ange, and he's done fantastic. Because if you look at where they were last year and how they're playing, they're a completely different style.
Yeah.
But then that's the top ones. But then you look at the bottom teams like Luton.
I was going to say, yeah.
I can't remember his name.
Rob Edwards.
Yeah.
I think he's done a brilliant job facing the adversity they have. I think that Kenilworth Road has become, and this is a credit to the fans as well as the manager and team, one of the toughest away grounds in the Premier League in its first season in the Premier League.
You know it's the size of a toilet, don't you?
It's tiny.
Yeah.
It is tiny. You walk through people's back gardens to get to it. It is the size of a
that's
toilet.
old school.
But it's lovely. And that's what I love about soccer is you have a team like that playing in the highest competition. Why? Because they earned the right to be there. So I love it. I think it's brilliant. I think, again, Rob Edwards did a great job. I was going to go for Unai Emery, former Arsenal boss. I think Villa are flying at the moment. I believe they're second on the table. I think on goal difference over Man City at the moment, or maybe I think they might be 2 points above Man City actually. But yeah, I think Villa are crushing it. They're flying high. They've knocked off Arsenal at home. They have not lost a home game since Arsenal at home last year. I think it's like 30 straight or something they've gone. They're flying. They're scoring. And knowing Unai Emery, it'll all crash and burn in the second half of the season because I've seen this movie before with Arsenal. But right now, he has done one of the best jobs in the Premier League.
And they've got Chelsea in the FA Cup.
They do. In the FA Cup? Villa?
I think, yeah.
No. In the FA Cup?
Yeah,
Did y'all draw? I didn't.
Got Villa next.
Oh, I didn't see that draw.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's a tough one. That'll be a fun one.
Yeah, I know it is.
That'll be a fun one.
The good thing about that,
Mhm.
Villa joined Chelsea in FA Cup. Villa can now concentrate on the league
Yeah.
because we're going to beat them. Okay, so that's good for them. They can concentrate
Well,
on the league.
one thing they can concentrate that you can't on is Europe because they're actually in Europe this year.
No, they've been doing good. I mean,
They have
we get the
been.
Villa fans up in the Colliball location.
Yeah.
They all go there.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've seen
Is there a
them-
good contingency of Villa fans that show up every week?
Yeah. I've
That's
seen
awesome.
them a few years ago when Jack Greedy scored a goal that kept him in the EPL.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about
Oh, scenes.
when you watch a team
Mhm.
and you really don't enjoy it.
Mhm.
They were shitting themselves there,
Losing
fans
their
watching that
mind.
game. And I don't blame them.
Exactly.
But he scored and they stayed up.
Well, that's what I love about this too, is we talk about your story with Aston Villa is he scored a goal to save them from relegation, and here we are talking about them second
Yeah.
in the
No,
Premier League.
no,
So again,
no.
credit to Emery.
And but then you look at the manager, like obviously Steven Gerrard was there.
Yeah,
and,
that
I mean,
didn't pan
maybe that's
out.
another one we can have when we talk about these managers that jump straight into.
Well, you see it so often.
Top
Managers
teams.
that try to jump into top teams, Gerrard, Neville, both failed. Thierry Henry didn't do that great when he was at Monaco or in the MLS. Vieira got fired from Crystal Palace, although I think he was actually doing a better job than those previously mentioned, to be fair. But we do see a lot of that in today's game. It just doesn't
We'll
pan
talk
out.
about that in another thing.
Yeah,
but
we'll come back.
I'd say you've got to serve your apprenticeship.
Yeah,
You can't just be a good player.
yeah.
And
Well, you look at the successful managers today, right? Pep, student of the game for years, did his time at Barcelona's B team basically before becoming the coach, and obviously going on to thunderous success. Arteta, student of Pep for 4 or 5 years, right? Studied under him, left Arsenal, went to coach under him, learned everything, came back. It's his first managerial role, and he's already amongst the top guys in the league. So I agree with that. I think there is something to be said
I'm
about.
wondering how much does it affect you when, like Rudy, someone like him gets fired?
Yeah.
obviously your confidence, then did you start questioning yourself?
Yeah.
You know, can I do it?
Yeah, because it's so different. I think that there's such a difference between playing and managing, and you can know how to manage players, but it's another thing to play the game well, and those don't always overlap at all. All right.
Most of the fans we get in the pubs,
Mhm.
they could manage any team in the EPL.
Yeah.
I hear them.
Yeah.
I hear them shouting at the screen. You know, and sometimes they'll shout something. I think, what the fuck?
Yeah.
No. Most of them are brilliant. I'd love
But
to
they just know everything.
They don't know anything. No.
No.
Neither do I. I play it, and there's a lot of it I don't know.
But they think they know everything, and they know all the players.
What
And
they call them
stuff.
armchair quarterbacks over here. But
Yeah.
every Sunday I see
But I
them.
think that is brilliant about soccer, though, is you have fans that are literally sitting there knowing they try to think they know tactics and tactical stuff and every player and where they can play and shift and move, and everyone thinks their wife is the prettiest, right? They all want to be right. But that is the obsession of the game, to know all of that, and to just have that information backhand is so, just to me, it's important.
I'll tell you what, I've been here 30 years, and I've seen it get better. Even when I'm playing Sunday, it used to be the referees didn't know anything.
Yeah.
I mean, God, it was awful.
Yeah.
And it's got better, and they're getting more knowledgeable. They
Again,
really are.
that speaks to just the game growing in America.
I think
and why
most Americans forget how young the game is over here.
Yeah, and that's why I think a place like the Londoner is so important, because it gives that centralized hub. Like we have, obviously there's a million bars you can go watch American football on any given Sunday, but there's not many like this where you can come here, be a diehard Premier League fan, and be surrounded by so many like you, all with the same goal.
And it's not just, I have to thank everybody that come to watch, because it's not just putting the TVs, everybody has TVs in the bar, but the fans are there, they bring the atmosphere,
the aura,
they bring
the ambiance.
At the end of the game, we'll put a song on, "You'll Never Walk Alone," or
whoever
Sweet
wins,
Caroline.
right? Yeah, Sweet Caroline's Arsenal's
I'll tell
victory
you what's
song.
good about it. Sometimes when Liverpool lose, I
Yeah.
put "You'll Never Walk Alone." They don't sing. They're miserable bastards when they lose.
Yes, they are the miserable bastards that you play their victory song when they lose. They are the ones.
Honestly, you can hear yourself drop a pin when that song's on when they lose.
Hilarious. Well, they don't lose much recently, so
No,
hopefully
no.
you get to play it for the right reason soon. All right, let's wrap up here with our midseason Premier League awards. I was going to ask about the top four, but I feel like we're both going to name relatively the same team, so I want to do the opposite side. Let's do our relegation predictions. Which teams do you think are going down?
A few weeks ago, I would have said Luton, but I've seen them fight.
I think Luton have some fight in them.
I'd like them to stay up.
I think the obvious one is Sheffield United. I don't see them being able to stay up. I'm sorry. I don't think they have the quality.
Or Burnley.
Burnley as well. I think it's tough, but I agree.
Although Vincent Kompany was saying they just lost, I think, 1-0
Yeah, to
in
Spurs.
the FA Cup, and he said now he seems to think that's the step
Yeah,
that they're over.
In
it.
his
So
post-game quotes, he was talking about, like, we're just one step away. We had a couple things not click. I don't know how
you're
much
also
of that.
one step away from relegation.
Yeah, that's the thing. You are literally one step away from relegation.
Yeah.
You're sitting right there.
No, I think Sheffield United, Burnley is that third one.
Yeah,
That's
it's that
the one,
third
and
one
that's
that's
when-
so
and that's-
tough. Is it
but-
Luton?
Jesus, when that,
Is it Everton, who lost 10 points, but they're looking better?
I mean, can you imagine if they still had them 10 points? They'd be like
they'd
6 or
top half
7.
the table.
I
They'd be
know.
brilliant. I think Sean Dyche
In
has done a
fact-
brilliant job.
Chelsea played them just after they lost them 10 points. I
Yeah.
thought, oh, here we go. I knew we were going to get beat.
I
just because of that.
texted my friends the day that they lost the points, and I was like, thank God Arsenal's played
Honestly, yeah.
at Everton or at Goodison, because other than Kenilworth Road, there's not a more difficult park to go to the rest of the year than Goodison.
No.
Until
So
they're safe. Until they're safe.
It's the third one. I couldn't tell you.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, Crystal Palace, they'll win one and then they'll lose 2. So
Yeah.
they might go down there. You just don't know.
Don't like it, but I'm gonna say Luton. I think Luton.
Yeah.
I love their story, and I hope they don't get relegated. I just think if they don't make some signings in the January window.
Luton, one of their biggest fans years ago, it was a comedian called Eric Morecambe.
Okay.
You've never heard of him. He was a
Yeah.
Morecambe and Wise. And he was a big Luton fan. He's been dead years now. I wish he was alive so he could see it,
Yeah.
because he never got
it'd
to
be
see
beautiful.
this. One of the things about Eric, if someone ever comes here sometimes here and they order sausage and mash, and if any time, a fellow a while ago, and I got this from Eric Morecambe, someone said to me, he ordered sausage and mash, and I went by, I said, excuse me, how long's my dinner going to be? I said, 6 inches, it's a sausage. I got that from Eric Morecambe, so I've got to thank the man. He gave me a one-liner that I was able to use the first time in my life.
I love that. I absolutely love that. You gotta love when you remember those one-liners. But all right, so that'll pretty much wrap up our mid-season Premier League awards. We went over signings. We kind of know the top 4. We can touch on it if you want. Actually, let's do this. We'll end on this. Who wins the Premier League this year? We'll end on this one, and then we'll get back into our interview with Charlotte. But I want to end on a good note here. Who wins the Premier League this year?
It's Man City or Liverpool. I can't see anybody else. If I say out the top four who I'd like to see win it, I'd like to see Villa get it.
Yeah.
You know, they've had the glory days and they've got the fans, and most of these clubs do have the fan base. I mean, you know, they.
But you're going with a Man City or Liverpool?
Bollocks, let's go for Villa.
All right, that's bold.
Right.
Villa Premier League champions. I want to say Arsenal, but like I know I'm biased as hell, so I can't. I'm gonna say Man City. I think with De Bruyne coming back, with Haaland coming back, the run in, it's what they do. We see it every year. Will they be able to compete on all fronts? I don't know. Obviously, they're out of the League Cup. Spurs away is not an easy draw in the FA Cup. Champions League, they're still competing because it's what they do. And then Premier League, they always go on a run in. I'm gonna say Man City. I think the only problem they might run into this year is the depth of their team. Is not what it was, losing Mahrez, losing Gundogan, other injuries like De Bruyne being out for 4 months. I think they'd be at a much higher place in the table right now with him there. So can they recover from that? We've seen it before. I'm going to say yes. I'll go with Man City.
So while we're talking, I know it's looking ahead, but so Arsenal going to win it next year, are they?
Shoot, I want to say we're going to win it this year. I don't think we're done yet.
No, they won't this year, but
I
next
don't
year,
think we're done yet.
Hey.
I don't think we're done yet. I'll say Arsenal win it every year. You got to believe, baby. You
Okay, so we'll have a tenner on it.
Yeah, we'll put a tenner on it. I'll put a tenner on it. Yeah,
tenner for next year.
Absolutely. Tenner
Okay.
next year. Arsenal wins the Prem.
All right.
All right, deal.
Give it to me when we finished.
Yeah.
All
Yeah. Well, no. Anyways, but I want to talk a little bit more about the pub, why you're doing this, how it all came to be, and also y'all were talking too much about my Emmy. I want to talk about how y'all are the NBC's best Premier League bar in America. So we'll get Charlotte back in, and we'll circle back to all that in a minute. All right. So first of all, I want to welcome back Charlotte, our lovely guest of the evening. Charlotte, why don't you just introduce yourself one more time for the audience, make sure everyone knows who you are and what you are.
My name is Charlotte Tate, and I run operations for the Londoner pubs here in Dallas-Fort Worth area. I first got into the pub business when I was 9 years old. My dad had his first pub, the London Tavern, down on Greenville Avenue, and I'd go there and play pool. I'd make Shirley Temples behind the bar. Really grew up there. My dad had a comedy routine that he taught my brother and I that we'd perform for his customers, unpaid, by the way.
Wow.
Wow. And, you know, I've really just grown up in these pubs. I went away and went to college and law school, and it certainly wasn't the plan to come back. But the 2008 recession hit, and I came back and I stayed. I've enjoyed working for the company, and I think we really have something special here that was worth sticking around for.
Yeah, so you have a unique perspective on this more than probably anyone else in the world, is you've grown up through the London Tavern, you said, to the Londoner. What about the Londoner makes the Londoner so special? Like, you've seen such a unique perspective.
Well, from purely the perspective of the pub, I mean, I have seen people over the years, you know, come in their first time there, and it's one of their first stops when they've just moved to town. No friends, they don't really know anybody, and they've made their friends there. The regular customers there accepted them, made them a part of their group of friends, and that's something I've seen over and over. We have more couples than I can count that have met at our pubs. I mean, it really becomes a part of your central life, and you know, showing all of the soccer games for so many years, soccer is obviously a big part of that as well. And, you know, there were a few times during high school I got called out. One year there was a big tournament, and it started at 1 o'clock in the morning, and Addison was packed for it. And then we had to take everybody's drinks away at 2 o'clock halfway through the match.
Who was that?
It was a very interesting game. But really for me, it was the 2006 World Cup, right when I was just graduating college and had moved back to Dallas. And I worked at our Addison location for that World Cup that year. And the first games every day were at 8 o'clock in the morning. And now for World Cup years later, we hire on extra staff when that comes up. But for this 2006 World Cup, we just had the regular staff there. We opened up early, and from 7:45, from the moment the doors opened, almost every day of the World Cup, that pub was packed from the very minute. I mean, I got pranked by the local Kiss FM radio morning show that summer. But it really just showed me the way soccer was growing in the States, the interest, how much people were looking for a home to support this soccer, and how much it meant to them to be able to go to a bar and you have supporters from both teams in the final at the pub, split right down the middle. There's no fighting, there's no issues. Everybody's just there to enjoy their game together. And that's really special, and I've loved watching us build that over the years.
Yeah, I think that the Londoner has become so much more than just, oh, come in and watch a soccer game. It's more of a home for fans. I know that, Barry, I'm going to bring you back in because you haven't talked for 5 minutes. I know that must be killing you. So I want to hear a little bit more about you, and you talked about the respect between mutual fans. We talked about this off camera, but I want you to tell that story again about just how the Londoner itself is such a safe haven for fans of any team, of any race, of any walks of life at all, how you became this melting pot for everyone to come and enjoy something in some sport that's normally so heated between rivals. You've created a safe haven for everybody.
With the soccer environment, excuse me, we couldn't do this in England.
Yeah.
We get games where we've got 50, 60, 70 Chelsea fans, 80 Arsenal fans. We've got Man City in the other room. We've got 4 rooms in the pub in Addison, so it's actually quite good because they can be put in different... They can see each other, but but you couldn't do that in England. You absolutely couldn't. And everybody knows any trouble, you're barred for life. I want someone... If you come in there and you support Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Tottenham, Burnley, who cares?
Maybe not Tottenham, but yeah.
Maybe not. We let them in. We don't serve them.
Nice of you. Yeah.
But I want you to watch your team. When I first came over here, I'd go anywhere, and I couldn't go anywhere. That's why we put it on, to watch the team.
Yeah.
We had it once where 4 Liverpool fans came to see me when I had a pub in Uptown Dallas, and they were asked if they can make that their home ground. And this is when Tom Hicks owned the team, and so I said, yeah, of course. I said, so the very first game, I had about 60, 70 Liverpool fans coming in, and they're in there. So I had my Chelsea shirt up, so I stood up on the bar before the game, and I said, I just want to talk to you before we start. And I said, all I'm asking, I said, I want to thank you for making this your home ground. I said, I promise you we'll open for every game. Because that's the hard part, opening at 6 in the morning when 2 people show up. You've got more staff than customers. Yeah. And we still get that sometimes. We can't even serve booze till 10.
Yeah.
So it's really it's a service.
Yeah.
It's a service we're giving. And I don't know if people realise that, but it actually is on some mornings. But so I said, so I'll open up every game, and I promise you. But all I'm asking from every one of you, if someone else comes in here with an Everton shirt on, a Man United shirt, a Man City shirt, I just want you to show your respect, because he wants to watch his team the same as you want to watch your team.
Yeah.
I said, all I'm asking, anybody ever comes in here, can you show them complete respect? And Tom Hicks' sons were in the crowd, and they all started clapping and cheering. And I turned around, on the back of my shirt, it said, fuck Liverpool.
There it is.
I got 80 of them in one hit.
You knew honestly. It was coming. You knew it was coming.
That beats watching my daughter being born.
Oh, my days.
I'm telling you.
Oh, my God. But I think... Obviously, other than the joke you do at the end, it does show how important it is for you.
I'm surprised to hear he watched me be born, to be honest.
Look at that. Beautiful moments. This is a pilot
We've got
episode.
a story about that one as well, but we won't tell it here.
Another episode, another week. Not today. But that is brilliant, though, is how you did, before the joke at Liverpool, mention how important it is to you that this is a safe haven for everybody. This is a place where you can come. And I think that is so important, because I think that is a niche market that's being missed right now by so many places, is people want to see Premier League. People are loving the Premier League and the teams and the storylines. It's like a soap opera every year, with the managers switching teams and the players and the storylines, that they want a centralized, safe place to watch it. And I think that's why the Londoner is so important. As you've mentioned, you've grown up and seen it. you obviously just told that story about how it's so important for you because you couldn't find a place when you started watching games. So you created one. I love that. I think that's brilliant that you saw a need that you had in life, figure that other people would just like you had that same need, which you're correct. There's so many people that would love to do that. So you created a solution. And I think that's what the Londoner is. It's a solution.
It's not just watching the games. I mean, we know all the supporters clubs, we know the people that run it.
Yeah.
We're there, we know what songs to put on at certain times. I mean, there's not a lot of them, but you know.
No,
so
it's a show that you put on in a way. It really is a show. It's a production that you put on every game day.
We're not in the restaurant business. We're in the entertainment business.
There you go.
I really mean that. Like, you could eat and drink at home.
Yeah.
You come in here, you watch the game, you get trash talk.
Yeah. The environment's different.
It really is. It's the whole. It's the nearest thing you get to being back there and watching it.
And I think that's beautiful because it's obviously not easy for anyone in America to just hop on and catch the game on the weekend, right? So to have that substitute be right here, be in a safe place, a good home, I think it's brilliant. I do want to move on and talk about something. You guys very quickly called me out for having an Emmy, and I appreciate that, but I'm not the only one to benefit off of NBC's awards here, now am I? You guys and the Londoner won NBC's Best Premier League Bar in America. Tell me a little bit about that. Charlotte, let's start with you.
Well, this was back in 2016, and we heard about the contest from NBC Sports to find the best Premier League bar in America. And it was a multifaceted contest. So the way that a restaurant or pub can participate is that you put yourself in as an entrant, and then you have to get votes on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, from your customers. I think everyone was allowed one vote a day, so you could vote every day for it. And they also launched the NBC Sports app around that time, and so that was another avenue where you could garner votes. So, you know, from the restaurant perspective, it was obviously very exciting to be involved, but it was a lot of work. I know you can't see him because he's behind the scenes, but we had a regular Larry who works in production, and he helped us make some videos as far as entering that contest. And then a lot of it was really just getting your customers out to vote, getting the engagement from your fan base to care enough about you winning this award and bringing it home to the Londoner. And one smart thing that NBC did throughout the contest was that you could almost in live time see the rankings for the top few bars. So you'd be number one, and then you'd drop to number two and send out a mass text, do a couple of tweets, try and build yourself back up. But it was even more competitive than I expected. I learned about a lot of bars throughout the country that do show Premier League in different cities and states. More than I'd realized, just absolutely across the country. And so, you know, to win a contest like that and be the fan favorites and be the favorites of NBC at the end, was just really an incredible honor, because we've certainly put a lot of work into building the soccer at the Londoner pubs, but there's a lot of other bars and pubs in this country who've put in the work as well. And you know, in cities like New York and DC, places where you might expect to be crowned the winner of a national contest like that. So to be able to bring it back, not just for the Londoner pub, but for the DFW Metroplex, was really special.
And then Barry, I want to parlay that to you, because she talked about how having fans come back and vote, and it's not easy to get people to engage and vote and do stuff on social media. But sorry, go on.
No, I don't think it was just votes. Also, NBC had, because I sent stories in, soccer stories, people coming into the pub. We did a charity, that something I really want to do. My daughter knows that big time. Where we sent soccer balls, and they all went to Ghana. I'm not quite sure where, but stuff like that. But that's what I want. You can walk into anywhere in the world with a soccer shirt on.
Yeah.
Okay, especially if you've got someone like Messi on the back of it, or
Yeah, of
Maradona, or
course.
who else. You know, you got to be careful. Don't get me wrong, but you can, and you could be in an airport and you got a shirt on. You'll be talking to someone. You know, I
I'll
remember
see it all
years
the
ago.
time, yeah.
I was in, I don't know, was it Turkey or Spain? I can't remember. It was the fella could not speak English. Okay, all he kept saying to me was Bobby Charlton. And that's the only. I just kept smiling and nodding. Yeah.
I have a great story about that too. When I was younger, I went to Brazil and we were working in orphanages. And at the orphanage, there was just a cement court with 2 small soccer goals at either end, ripped up nets. And one kid had a half deflated ball, and it was me, and I was with my soccer team at the time, and we didn't speak a lick of Portuguese, and they didn't speak a lick of English. But we just started kicking the ball, and I remember sitting there and pointing to myself to the left, pointing to my teammate to the right, and just divvying up 2 teams. And we played for hours, and as the day went on, more kids poured out of the orphanages in their rooms. And by the end of the day, you couldn't take 2 steps without stepping on someone on that little court. It was so full of everyone just wanting to play. And I think that kind of speaks to soccer is its own language in a way, and you can get anyone. So going back to you and the Londoner here, you, someone who started with just a need of, I want a place that I can watch soccer at, and I want to give people a place that I can watch soccer at. How much does it mean to you to start with just that concept to go all the way to being voted the best Premier League bar in America?
I didn't realise at the time when we won it, you know, we all did our best and had help from a lot of... One of the things about the soccer crowds, Larry can vouch for this, if you're trying to do something and it's to do with soccer, they'll help for free.
Yeah.
And they have to help for free because I don't pay shit.
Yeah.
So they help for free. But they really do. We had a lot of people come in and step up and do... We had someone... get a bus of people come in and bring them all in, you know.
How does that not feel for you to have people willing to do that? Because you say it's soccer, they'll do it for free. To get people up in the morning and to get people to come here and do that and vote for you, knowing that they don't get any incentive from it. They don't get to walk around saying they own the best Premier League bar in America. They can say they attended it. But to you, how does that feel for someone who just started with an idea? Is that not massive to you to then grow this to something big enough to where people want to see you succeed?
I should say yes, but it doesn't.
Okay.
Because that's not how I do this, and it's a family business.
Yeah.
But I do it and I build it, and she'll tell you, I swear to God, I've never looked at a bank account in 10 years. They do all that. But
Okay.
I don't handle that. It doesn't interest me. I get a thrill when I see people enjoying themselves,
Mm-hmm.
be it soccer or when they're just here in an evening. I really mean that. It's not cheesy. When I'm watching them watch
I believe
soccer,
you.
I'll stand back and watch them. And it's a
Because
nice
for
feeling.
you,
whether
you get-
whether we're the best bar or pub in America, that doesn't matter. Just watching people enjoy it, and especially when it's soccer, there's a good game going on. It's good.
I think that's beautiful. I think that even speaks further to the beautiful game is you're just happy with literally sitting here and looking at like your kingdom. Like you'll sit in the back of the restaurant while they all watch the game and look what I built.
You built
Look how
something
happy
people
they are.
like.
Well,
And that's beautiful in its
Yeah.
own right. That's absolutely beautiful.
I think, you know, one of the things that is special about the pub is the way that it can introduce soccer to new fans that maybe weren't very familiar with the sport before. I mean, just this last weekend at our location out in Colleyville, we had a reservation for a Girl Scout troop that was learning about England for the first time, and so they asked if someone would come by and talk to them about England. So Barry made sure he was up there so he could introduce himself and teach those kids about
That's awesome.
about England, and you know, soccer is such a big part of that as well. But it's really amazing when you see customers come in that aren't interested in soccer at all, and as customers of the Londoners become avid fans. It's just great.
With
it's
that
just
Girl
really
Scout troop that are in there,
Mhm.
I actually was talking to one girl and she was saying that she plays soccer. I think they were about 8 years old, 9 years old.
Okay.
I said, I'll tell you what. I said, not in 4 years' time, but in 8 years' time in that World Cup, I want to see you playing for the USA team.
Hell yeah.
I said, did you forward or defensive slumber forward? I said, you got to score a goal. I said, did you come back here? We'll put your picture on the wall. You sign it, and that's that. I want to see that.
Barry, I'll tell you what, for you give a hard exterior sometimes. You are an absolute sweetheart inside. That's beautiful, man. That's one of the sweetest stories I've ever heard. That's so like cute and inspiring. I love that. You're gonna have to fork on that
Well,
tough
it did
guy
help.
image.
Her mum was pretty.
Okay, see, there it is. I say you gotta put that tough guy image back up, but
Yeah,
that
there
is
you
a
go.
beautiful story. But that's again the Londoner making it happen and just doing great things. I want to wrap up with this. If you guys could describe the Londoner in one phrase or one word, what would it be? You can take a second to think about it, because for me, I'll continue to speak what y'all think. It would just be welcoming. Like, ever since I first met y'all and we had the idea to do this podcast and come in, just the environment, the aura, the ambiance of this place.
Warm. It really is, but that's what an old pub is.
Yeah.
The inside, I mean, she'll tell you.
I think from my perspective, which is unique, obviously. I mean, I grew up in this pub. My baby's asleep just outside the room here.
It's true.
The first word I thought when you asked that was home.
That's beautiful. I think that the Londoner is not only home for you, I think it's home to so many that walk in every day. Even today, like, this is little things that I noticed. Some regular walks in when the pub opens and you greet him by name, and I see your waiter tell him about the sandwich that he always orders. Or other people walk in and you greet them by name. That's so rare for something this big, that y'all know everyone, and it really is a home, not just for you. Obviously for you it's unique and different, because like you said, your literal child is sleeping outside and you grew up here. But for so many, it's home for what Barry wanted it to be, which is a home where they can come watch soccer and they can feel safe, and you sit back and look at your kingdom and see what you've built.
Nowadays, so when I used to bartend, and I don't bartend anymore, customers used to come in.
Thank God.
Hey, bartender, have you got a joke?
Yeah.
And I didn't. I've got millions of the jokes now. Nobody talks anymore. They all sit there with their phone.
Yeah.
And when I'm behind that bar, I say, wait, put your phone down. We're having a conversation. You can what? And I'll start talking to people where it's the entertainment business, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
And when I'm here, I mean, no one listens to me at home. I have to come here and talk.
Yeah.
So it's my little stage. But I mean it.
I think that goes to the ambiance that you talked about and the warmth that you talked about of, I agree, we are in this social media age where everyone has an iPhone and they're on it 24/7. But when you come here, the phone's away, the eyes are up, the conversation's good, the drinks are flowing, the sports are on. It's just a good place to be. It's a good place to be.
What we do, I know you're winding down now.
No,
what we'll
fine.
do on the next podcast, okay?
Yeah.
I will tell the joke about the priest, the 2 strippers, and the chicken.
Yeah, so we're gonna put an
All right,
18.
well, I think we better stay tuned for that.
We're gonna put an 18+ warning on our next podcast, everybody. But thank you for being here, Charlotte. We appreciate you
Thank
coming
you.
on the show and everything. We'll let you get back to your sleeping baby outside. But thank you again. I think that this was a great conversation we had, and people can learn a lot more about not only what the Londoner, but why the Londoner. So I think that we covered that brilliantly. Thank you both.
Thank you.